Welcome back to Study Section 6 on HG 201 Introduction to Agricultural Economics. In the previous study section, we talked about price theory, but here we'll be talking about the theory of production. Introduction. Production is synonymous with creating something. Economists does not restrict production to the manufacture of commodities alone. So therefore, the aim of all production is to satisfy people's wants and increase the economic welfare of the people. So to raise their standard of living by enable to satisfy more fully a greater number of their wants. So at the end of this study section, you should be able to know the meaning of production. Secondly, you should be able to define production function and its type. Also, you should be able to discuss some of the algebraic forms of production function. And lastly, you should be able to explain some of the production function parameters of interest. Let's take them one after the other and discuss. Production is the process by which inputs are transformed into outputs in output processing units. The output processing units includes farms and factories. Therefore, production means changing either the form of something or its situation in space or time, or the provision of a service of some kind. So agricultural production involves many controllable and uncontrollable inputs. So the controllable inputs include the land, the labor, the capital, irrigated water and management, and the various disaggregated forms to give us some specific sets of factors. The uncontrollable inputs, this includes rainfall, other weather variables, and many variables such as animal and plant nutrition, photosynthesis, which are not completely understood. The major resources used in agriculture are free and economic resources. So controllable inputs can also be referred to as free resources because they are relatively abundant in supply and they have no cost elements attached to them, but they are highly essential in agricultural production. Examples are heat, air, and water. Whereas controllable inputs is also referred to as economic resources because they are scarce in supply and limiting in production, and they possess high economic value, and this includes land, labor, capital, and management. The economic agricultural resources are as follows. We have the land, which is the most important resources in agricultural production. Its supply is relatively fixed, except it can be expanded slightly by drainage of swamps. That is, the farm side, it can be expanded slightly by drainage of swamps. Therefore, land or farm size is being measured in acres, but our local farmers refer to the size of their farms in number of heaps. Labor. It is the effort of human being that is used in making things happen in the production process. Farm labor is purely hired and is being categorized as casual, unskilled, semi-skilled, and skilled labor, and it is being measured in terms of the adult male equivalent, where 1 man day is the work done by one adult male in 8 hours. The third one of economic and cultural resources is capital. Capital resources come into farm production in 3 forms. Namely, we have farm machinery such as tractors and various farm tools. Also biological capital such as fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides. And the last one is improve seeds and breeding stock and as feed for livestock. And the last one on the economic agricultural resources is management or entrepreneur. It is concerned with the efficient mixing of resources in the production process and is the most important factor of production because it is the input resides in the decision making power of a farm business. We have two forms of agricultural production function, which are biological and farm functions. Biological functions are being derived from experiments, both in crops and livestock. So the experiments may be conducted in plants, group of animals, or using area of land as basis for experimentation. So the data used in biological function are of importance for purpose of policy and as an instrument for planning economic development. And the second one is farm functions. They are used on farm survey of existing farms where data are collected from secondary and primary sources because good records are not kept. So the best option is to draw up questionnaires on information on average inputs and output quantities, inputs and output prices, all within a given season or time period. So uses of agricultural production function are they serve as diagnostics purposes to diagnose inputs and output relationship within sampled farms. They help to tell us the level of optimum use of inputs, and also they help us to determine the scale of production, and they are also useful in the determination of enterprise combination, that is the type of crops to combine together on a field. And lastly, they guide farmers in their decision making. The algebraic forms of production function are the explicit representation of the production function. The type of algebraic forms that will be used depend on these three considerations, namely the functional form used must adequately represent the production process which is meant to represent, that is, the estimation function fits the data on which it is being based. The algebraic form should be easily estimated by econometric and statistical procedure. And lastly, it should be easily manipulated in terms of economic analysis. Types of functional forms. There are different kinds of functional forms, which includes linear function, quadratic function, semi-log function, exponential function, power function, that is the Cobb-Douglas. So I will discuss two out of these and you will kindly read up the remaining ones in your study materials. Linear function. For the one variable production, the linear function is expressed as y is equal to a plus b capital X, where y is the output and x is the variable input. That small a stands for constant term and b is the slope of line or coefficient of production parameter. So linear function is very simple and easy to work with. The linear function is mainly taught for academic exercise since most agricultural production are not adequately represented in linear functional form. And the second function that I'm going to talk about here is quadratic function. The function is defined for a single variable cases as y is equal to a plus b x1 plus b2 x12, where 1 x1 a b1 and b2 are previously defined. Kindly read more about the other functions in your study materials. Production function parameters of interest includes the following: average product, which is being represented by AP, means the average rate at which an input is being transformed into a product. The AP, that is the average product, is the total product divided by the input quantity, that is the TP, total product divided by X. Also, we have marginal product. The marginal product MP measures the amount that total output increases as input increases. It is the change in output resulting from a unit change in the variable input. The MP is the slope of production function curve. So the marginal product is being derived from the production function as the first derivatives of production function. Elasticity of production is the proportionate change in output caused by a proportionate change in variable input. Values of elasticity of production. The values of EP are between minus infinity and infinity. Also, we have return to scales. The return to scale, which is being represented as R, is the summation of the elasticities of production of variable inputs involved in the production function. And we have three stages in the production function, which are when RTS, that is the return to scale, is greater than 1, it implies the production in stage 1, and the stage of increasing returns to scale. When 0 is less than RTS less than 1, it implies the production in stage 2. When RTS is less than 0, it implies production in its stage 3. So we have different types of marginal returns. We have constant, increasing and decreasing marginal returns. Constant marginal returns, CMR, states that each additional unit in input results in a constant rate of increase in output, while the change in output is constant throughout. Constant marginal returns, that is CMR, states that each additional unit in input results in a constant rate of increase in output. So the change in output is constant throughout, whereas for increased marginal returns, each additional increase in the input leads to more than increase in output than the preceding increase in output. So the change in output increases as an increase rate. So the slope of the curve becomes steeper as more inputs are added, decreasing, that is diminishing marginal returns. In decreasing marginal returns, each additional increase in the input leads to smaller increase in output than the preceding increase in output. The slope of the curve becomes smaller as more inputs are added. The change in output increases at the decreasing rate until it becomes 0 or even negative. So decreasing marginal return is common in most agricultural production. This is the end of this video section for study section 6. I hope you've gained 1 or 2 things. Join me for the next study section. Thank you for listening.